Fernando. My name is Ellen, and I'll be correcting these essays for you. I'm very happy to see that you've begun the essays that are part of the course. So let's take a look and see what you have written here. First one is about doing entertaining entertaining activities with children. Let's see what you wrote. Entertaining activities can have more effective results in growing skills in children than just the fact of reading. I partially agree because I consider that doing enjoyable activities can be useful to develop abilities. However, reading is also an important factor. This essay will discuss both issues, using examples to demonstrate and support arguments. Okay, this is on the whole well done. You clearly laid out your position. And it sounded like you were kind of on the fence. You were kind of half and half about this, which is, within your right. You can do that. So that's all right. And you effectively rephrase the topic. So these are the things that you're supposed to do in your introduction. You did all that. My one concern is some of the issues of grammar that popped up here. Okay. And so that's what I want to talk to you about a little bit. So let's look at the first sentence. Entertaining activities can have more effective results in developing skills. That's the right word here. More effective results in developing skills in children than just reading alone. That would have been a better way to say this, okay? More effective. And then we don't put an S on the end of it, enjoyable. It's an adjective. And so we never put S's on the end of our adjectives. All right. So those were the two things that I picked up on that I want to point out. And now let's move on with the rest of the essay. Firstly, it is clear that some skills are only learnt by taking action and they require movement. Practicing entertaining activities with children can potentially transmit knowledge, mental skills, and also connect the brain to the body correctly if some outdoor games are played. For example, schools in the Amazona are taking their students into the jungle where they learn how to survive in that particular ecosystem while they're having fun, instead of reading books about it. Therefore, fun experiences are fundamental to the learning process. Okay, so this is about developing skills, right? What are they learning here? They're learning how to survive in the ecosystem. Okay, that's fine. You need to make sure that when you're bringing up these examples that you show us the kind of skill that it's developing. So that was a fine example of that. I was a little hesitant up here because of how your ideas are linked together. I do want to look at it one more time. I found that these two sentences needed a better link between them. And when I was reading the second sentence, I wasn't really sure where you were going with it until you got to this part of the sentence. So it was a long sentence, and I was like, all right, where is this? Where's the connection? So I would have rewritten this second sentence to make it more clearly linked to the first. Example about what that would have looked like. You could have said more specifically, if some outdoor games are played, let's see, children can potentially transmit knowledge, mental skills, and also connect the brain to the body correctly. Okay, so that would have been a better way to do this. And then you could have finished the rest of the paragraph. Okay, so let's move on. Secondly, even though reading is quite an important part of during the growth of new skills, a routine of everyday reading can become monotonous. Some books are abstract and a lot of imagination is needed to interpret them. For example, many schools in Europe have incorporated new technologies and they are playing audiobooks with images for children in order to replace the reading part and make it more interesting. Therefore, the reading part can also be transformed into something fun. Okay, where are you talking about skills? Remember, you're supposed to be talking about skills development and creativity. And that brings me to one thing that I want to ask you to do as you progress in the course. Make sure that you include the task on your on the page with your essay. It's very helpful to me so that I can refer to it and see if you've actually answered the question that you've been asked. So here you talked about skills. You talked about this learning to survive. But here you mentioned something about imagination, but you didn't talk about the development of creativity. So that was one way you could have done it. You could have talked about skills development here and then creativity development here, and that would have been okay. But you didn't really talk about it. You just mentioned the word imagination once, and that was it. So that's not enough. So that was one issue for me. It didn't really feel particularly on topic. Um, you had told us here that reading is an important factor in skills and creativity development. Let's see. I just want to kind of read through this again to see how you organized your ideas. It can be monotonous. You need a lot of imagination. And so instead, schools in Europe have incorporated new technologies. Okay. Yeah, so I can't really say that I'm really thrilled with this paragraph. You said to us here that it was an important factor, but here you were kind of changing everything you said about it. You said, yes, reading is really important, but it's monotonous, and so they have to use new technology. And then you never mentioned anything about skills or creativity. So this wasn't really the right way to do this. What you could have done instead is you could have said that reading too is a very important tool to develop creativity in children. By reading, children can imagine the scenery and the heroes of their stories. They also can, and then, it has been found that children who read stories with their parents have score 40% higher on tests of creativity than children who do not read with their parents. You could have also said that as far as skills are concerned, reading also develops vocabulary skills, as children who read have been found to have 88% better vocabulary than children who do not. So you could have done stuff like this in this paragraph, and those would have made it more relevant. Okay, but especially the thing about creativity, since you didn't include anything about creativity here. All right, so to conclude from the examples and arguments given, I think that a balance between entertainment and reading must be applied for developing skills in a more effective way. It is predicted for the future that school will change the traditional manner of teaching. All right, that's fine. So I think you should have a pretty good idea about what the strengths and the weaknesses of this were. A lot of your grammar was very good. I would say that there were very few mistakes, and so that's important. But I do want you to work on your task achievement, as I felt task achievement and maybe to a lesser degree coherence and cohesion needed a little work, but that's fine. It's your first set of essays, and these are essentially test taking skills, and so relatively easy to improve. So with that, let's go to your second essay. So this is about whether schools should be more entertaining or not. Let's see what you wrote. It is believed by some people that students must get some fun while they are being educated at school. There are some others that consider education as the only target for schools. All right, these need to be linked better. There are two opposing statements. You need to have something combining them, something sort of linking them, showing that there's contrast here. So let's try it again. It is believed by some people that students must get some fun while they are being educated at school. Full stop. However, there are some others that believe education is the only target for schools. That's better. Even though you wrote believe here. Consider was just awkward here. How about this? That support or that maintain. That would have been a good word as well. In my opinion, comma, it is fundamental to enjoy the process and learning at the same time. All right, what does that mean, to enjoy the Are you saying, okay, that's not entirely what they're asking. They're asking if schools should be more entertaining, okay? If they need to have more entertaining things added. So here you're just telling us that they need to have fun while they learn. So what does that mean? Do they need to have more entertainment or not? So make sure you're answering the question you are being asked. So this essay will discuss these issues using examples from recent evidence to demonstrate and support arguments. Fine. All right, moving on. Firstly, it is evident that the manner of educating people has been changing through, how about this, over time. Better. Nowadays, the fact that schools are including some enjoyable activities with the final purpose of teaching Nowadays, the fact that schools are including some enjoyable activities with the final purpose of teaching is essential. This is confusing to me. To keep students focused on acquiring new knowledge and skills. I'm not really clear on this sentence because there was a lot going on here. Also, the information and message that teachers want to transmit can be interpreted more quickly, careful, by the students if they are entertained. For example, in some Nordic countries, you should capitalize that, such as Denmark, comma, and comma here, the education system is based on shared activities. Moreover, comma, the exams are taken in groups to make them less stressful for students. Therefore, it is a necessity to be adapted to new ways of teaching. Okay, now, here's my question to you. This essay is about enjoyable activities, entertaining activities. So you need to focus on these words. What do we mean by more entertaining, more enjoyable, more joyful, more joyous, more happy, more amusing? These are some things that you want to come up with. These are some kind of fairly synonymous words here. So talking about group activities, shared activities, is not the same thing as amusement entertaining. So just because I do a shared activity with a classmate, it doesn't mean I'm entertained. If the shared task is tedious and very academic and not fun, then whether I'm doing it with a student or not is not necessarily making it entertaining. Does that make sense? Also, this too, exams are taken in groups. It's nice to talk about group work, but that's not what the essay is asking you. It's asking you about more enjoyable, more entertaining. Okay, more entertaining. That's the key word. And again, this is why I want you to include the task in your answer so that I can refer to it. I believe that the word used is entertaining. And so you have to remember what they're asking you. It's in a sense they're testing your vocabulary to make sure you understand what is meant by entertaining. Okay? So let's move on. Secondly, an education which is deprived of fun during the school time is basically demotivating, and some young people could not be inspired to continue attending school. Okay, why? Furthermore, there must be a strategy to stimulate students not to quit. For example, a survey in Argentina has shown that approximately 4% of the students dropped out annually, and it could be caused by an old education system. Okay, this is good. I like what you're writing, but I wanted you to link it back to what we're talking about. So you want to talk about maybe evidence regarding why entertainment in schools is important can be seen by the failure of schools that do not implement these types of learning methods. For example, and then et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So you have to frame it a little differently so that we understand how this is relevant, why it's relevant, and what you're trying to tell us, all right? So to conclude from the examples and arguments given, clearly a balance between education and entertainment must be applied in order to teach subjects effectively and keep students going forward. In the future, it is predicted that school will incorporate strategies to make the learning process more interesting. Okay, I like that. So I think on the whole you did well, but we really need to work throughout the next sets on coherence and cohesion, but also more importantly, task achievement. Those are the areas I want you to work on. But as far as grammar and vocabulary are concerned, I thought you did well. So let's talk now about next steps. The first thing for you to do is correct these essays based on the suggestions in this video. The second thing you want to do is begin an error correction list where you write down the mistakes and what the correct version is. And you want to add to that every time you get an essay back from us. And the third thing you need to do is write a new set of essays. So try to get all these three things done in the next day or so and send them all back to us together. And let's meet back here with that next set of essays, okay? So good job on your first set, and I'm looking forward to seeing more. Good luck.